So thanks for joining us today. We're going to be talking about the financial aid process, and it's a process that is a little confusing for families at times, and I think sometimes intimidating. And so we're hoping today to really share some information and make it an easier process for you. So I'm Beth Little, and I'm the Dean for Enrollment Management and University Relations at Potomac State College, and I'm joined by two of our financial aid counselors, Jeanette Ferris and David Shoemaker. And we're going to tell you a little bit about the financial aid process. So Jeanette, why don't we start by talking about how does a person receive financial aid? What's the first step?
Okay. The first step is completing the FAFSA. You will need to have yourself and one parent complete an FSA ID. The FSA ID is your login as well as your and your parents' electronic signature to file the FAFSA. You will fill it out at studentaid.gov or by downloading the My Student Aid mobile app on your phone.
So David, talk about that mobile app a little bit. That's something new.
Yes, it's really, this is the second year. It's an awesome resource. So Apple, Android, you download the My Student Aid from the App Store, and you can actually fill out the FAFSA from your smartphone, tablet. It has a lot of the same benefits as FAFSA on the web. So it's secure. You can use the IRS data retrieval. You have the digital signature, and you will receive the expected family contribution at the submission of the FAFSA.
Okay, so people maybe my age or older who remember a FAFSA that's like 8 pages of paper, that's not the case anymore. It's all online. You can even do it from your phone.
Yes.
Okay. So talk a little bit about deadlines. Like when should you be doing the FAFSA?
Okay, so March 1st, that is going to be a priority filing deadline for a lot of federal and state programs. However, if you would happen to miss that deadline, we accept the FAFSA at any time, and you could still be evaluated for different financial aid programs.
Okay. And so a couple times, Jeanette, we've mentioned dependent students. What is a dependent student? What does that mean?
A dependent student is required to report parental information on the FAFSA. Most undergraduate students who are under the age of 24 are considered dependent students.
Okay. And David, what about if I haven't filed my taxes yet? Can I still go ahead and do the FAFSA?
Absolutely. So in 2016, the Department of Education, we transitioned to what is called prior year. So for the upcoming 2021 academic year, we will be using 2018 tax information. So your taxes would already have been filed by now.
Okay, sounds good. Jeanette, how do I get the FAFSA to Potomac State or to whatever college I want to attend? How do I identify that college?
Okay, we are not listed on the FAFSA to send it directly to. We are under the WVU process, so you will either code in 003827 or you will type in to search for West Virginia University main campus, and then we will receive the information.
Okay, so if you're planning to attend any of the WVU campuses, Morgantown, Kaiser, Beckley, you choose the WVU Morgantown campus and we'll receive it. Okay.
And I always encourage students, follow up with your financial aid office. It usually takes about 3 to 5 days for processing. So follow up with your financial aid office after you complete the FAFSA to ensure we did receive it.
Sounds good. Okay. So David, we've gone over how to complete the FAFSA, but I think there's still some misconceptions with a lot of students and family members. What are some of those?
It's not as difficult as it used to be. And I can say that as a former student, it's gotten a lot easier over the years. So it's also allowed faster processing time. For us in financial aid, we're able to give students their financial aid packages earlier than ever before. The IRS data retrieval, so as we mentioned with the My Student Aid mobile app, you can actually transfer your tax information directly to your FAFSA application. So this has eliminated having a lot of excess paperwork and having to refer to all these documents. You can actually transfer it directly to the FAFSA, and it's secure as well.
Great. Okay. So we've talked a good bit about how to submit the FAFSA, but now let's transition and talk about what kind of aid could I be eligible for. So Jeanette, what are the different types of financial aid that are out there for students?
Okay, we have gift aid, which would be grants and scholarships that you do not repay once you finish school. And then we have what we call self-help aid, which would be your loans and your work study. Loans, of course, the student is going to repay once they finish school. And then work study, you would receive a paycheck for hours worked.
Okay. So David, maybe talk a little bit about the work study program. I know you work with that program.
Yeah, so the work study program, it's an exciting and awesome resource. So the amount we usually award students is up to $2,500 for a full academic year. So that's $2,500 an eligible student could receive through the work study program. We have, at this point, over 23 different jobs on campus, and they find a job that interests them if they are work study eligible. There's actually a question on the FAFSA, are you interested in work study? So please mark yes to that question, and we will package eligible students for the work study.
Okay, so if you think you're interested in working on campus, you definitely want to answer yes to that question so you can be considered. It's not a guarantee, but you'll at least be considered.
And you can always change your mind later, but you can't always go back in and mark yes, the funding may be already exhausted if you would change your answer.
Okay, that sounds good. So, David, there's a lot of financial aid that's out there for residents of West Virginia. So can you talk about some of those programs for West Virginians?
Sure. So yeah, West Virginia, we have a lot of resources for West Virginia residents. The West Virginia Higher Education Grant. So for 2021, for eligible students, the maximum amount will be $2,900. The Higher Education Adult Part-Time Student Grant. So for students that would be taking part-time classes, 3 to 11 credit hours, there's a grant they can receive towards their tuition. We also have the Promise Scholarship. So Promise, and there is an SAT, ACT score required to qualify for Promise and a separate application, but it will pay the entire cost of tuition for eligible students.
Okay, so for the Promise Scholarship, there is an additional application. The FAFSA has to be submitted, both of those by March 1st.
Yes, that deadline, March 1st.
Okay, and I think it may be some important information. For admission to Potomac State, you don't have to submit an ACT or SAT score, but for consideration for the Promise Scholarship or any of our scholarships, you do need to submit those scores. Okay. And then, Jeanette, there's a lot of buzz about a new West Virginia program called the West Virginia Invest Grant. Can you talk about that program?
Yes, West Virginia Invest has been in the program for about a year. We currently have 23 majors that are qualified or approved for that through the state. This will pay tuition and fees for an eligible student who have not received an associate's degree or are not at 90 attempted hours. So it is a good program. The student will have to complete a drug testing at their own cost each semester. They do have to complete a promissory note once a year, and also they have to complete 2 hours of community service each semester to remain eligible for the program.
Okay, it's a great program. It's available at community and technical colleges in West Virginia, but Potomac State is the only WVU campus where that program's available. So it's great that students have that option to come into the WVU system and use it. What about it's available for students who are either part-time or full-time?
Yes, part-time or full-time. You do have to complete a FAFSA to be eligible for the program, and it is considered a last dollar in. So what that means is if you're receiving Pell Grant, West Virginia Grant, Supplemental Grant, Promise, anything like that, the grant will be reduced pertaining to whatever you're eligible for in those programs, and it could knock it out, but you're still getting your tuition paid with the other programs.
So that's the good news. In a lot of cases, if you're not eligible for West Virginia Invest, you're still having your tuition covered by some other program. And it is irregardless of family income.
Yes.
So certainly it's something that all families and students should consider applying for. So David, what about if you don't live in West Virginia? What's available for students who live outside of West Virginia?
Sure. So if you reside in one of what we call our metro counties, you would be receiving a reduced tuition price, okay? And that also would be for Washington County. And some of our metro states would be Pennsylvania, Virginia, and Maryland. And those savings can be over $4,000.
Okay, that's great. And so also Washington County, Maryland residents can qualify as well. Sounds good. What about other federal aid? What's available? And this would really be for all students, of course, not just out-of-state students, but for all students.
That is correct. So when you fill out the FAFSA, you would be automatically considered for some of these programs that I'm about to mention. So the Pell Grant, it's over $3,000 per semester for eligible students, the maximum amount. And it's prorated, so you may not receive the maximum amount, but you could receive a significant portion still. The Federal Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant, so for non-residents, if you would qualify for this program, it would be $1,500 in addition to the Pell Grant that you received.
That's great. So that's really a lot of resources out there. So just in the Pell Grant alone, it could be over $6,000 a year.
Correct.
Just by completing the FAFSA, you could be eligible for that.
Correct.
Okay. And then there's also scholarships out there. So Jeanette, could you talk a little bit about the scholarships that are available in the WVU system?
Yes, we do have what we call the Scholarship of Distinction program through the WVU system. You have to be admitted and have an ACT or SAT score on file for that to be processed. You will be looked at as soon as you're admitted. You do not have to do a separate application for that process. Those scholarships also follow you to the other campuses once you switch from Potomac State to another campus. And if you decide to move into one of our four-year programs, it will also follow you to through that four-year program.
Great. And then there's also a separate tier of scholarships available if you're a transfer student. So if you've already attended somewhere else, you can be considered for transfer scholarships. And also international students have scholarships available. So just to sum up what we've talked about today, submitting the FAFSA is much easier than it used to be. There is a priority deadline of March 1st. So I think the message is you want to get the FAFSA done as soon as possible, but even if you miss the March 1st deadline, make sure and do it. And then certainly those state level programs, there's information available online, and we'll flash up those websites if you're interested in further information. What about if you need help? What should you do?
Contact us. You can drop a comment below, reach out to us via email or phone. Just contact us in whatever format you're comfortable with.
We're always happy to help. So thanks for joining us today. Jeanette and David, thanks for your time and your expertise. And again, if you have any questions, please reach out to us. You can drop a comment below, or you can contact us by phone or email, or just stop in our office at Enrollment Services. And we hope to see you on campus this fall.